What if I told you that episode 8 might completely rewrite everything you thought you knew about the Amazing Digital Circus? And no, it's not just about escaping anymore. The chaos you've been bracing for, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Episode 8 isn't coming, it's barreling toward us, and honestly, it feels like the showrunners are daring us to keep up. If you thought the ending of episode 7 left everyone in shock, brace yourself. Episode 8 doesn't just continue that madness, it multiplies it. From the very first frames, it's clear that the stakes are higher than ever, not just for Pomni, but for every single character who's ever dared to think they had control. And here's the thing, control was never real, was it? The way the digital circus has manipulated every move, every thought, every choice has been nothing short of a psychological cage. And now, finally, the cracks are showing. But which cracks are the real ones, and which are illusions meant to break our minds as well as the characters? That's exactly what makes this episode so dangerously fascinating. Pomni has always been the heart of the story, the one everyone watches for answers, and episode 8 is going to test her like never before. After all, she's the one who's carried the dream of escape from day one, yet everything she's believed in is about to be shattered piece by piece. And I'm not talking about small, subtle challenges. This is the kind of reality-bending, mind-twisting confrontation that leaves characters gasping, questioning, and sometimes breaking. But here's where it gets interesting. Even as Pomni faces this chaos, it seems like the writers are setting her up to discover something we've all been wondering. How much of the digital circus is her reality, and how much is an elaborate trap she's been unknowingly dancing inside? It's the kind of reveal that makes you question not just the story, but the rules of the entire universe we've been following. Then there's Regatha. If you thought she was just a sidekick, a stabilizer, a friend to Pomni, think again. Episode 8 is primed to highlight her role in a way no one expected. Sure, she's always been the glue that keeps the circus residents from tearing each other apart, but now she's going to be tested against the kind of pressure that can break even the strongest bonds. Will she manage to maintain the fragile calm, or will her loyalty become her weakness? And while Regatha's handling the emotional chaos, Kinger is quietly stepping into a role we've all been waiting for. The guy who built this digital nightmare is now navigating it with his own rules, understanding the system in ways that even the others can't begin to grasp. And let's be honest, why didn't Abel involve him sooner? Was it fear, manipulation, or something even darker? Jax, meanwhile, is on the edge of something explosive. His arc has been a roller coaster of aggression, fear, and hidden pain. And episode 8 could either push him over the edge or forge him into a leader who changes the game entirely. Every decision he makes now isn't just about him, it's about everyone else trapped in the circus. And Kane has never looked more unstable. For someone programmed to entertain, he's teetering on the brink of a breakdown that might finally reveal what it truly means to be stuck inside this world. The glitches, the sudden indifference, the eerie silence, these aren't just bugs, they're foreshadowing, and they hint at a personal unraveling that could shift everything. The visuals, the pacing, the tension, they all scream that episode 8 won't just be another continuation. This is the moment where the digital circus turns from a puzzle into a trap, where every character's past, fear, and secret desires collide in ways that we may never fully understand. And yet, even with all this chaos, there's one question hanging over every frame. Will anyone actually make it out unscathed? Or is this the point where the circus finally claims everyone for good? But here's the kicker. The more we look, the more hints we find that episode 8 isn't just a story about escape. It's about confrontation, revelation, and the darkest truths that have been hiding in plain sight all along. And if that's true, then what does that mean for the final scene? And for Pomni herself? Everything about episode 8 feels like it's deliberately slowing down just to hurt more, and that's not a coincidence. The biggest mistake would be to assume this episode is about action or shock alone, because what's really happening here is far more unsettling. Episode 8 is shaping up to be the psychological breaking point of the Amazing Digital Circus, the moment where the characters are no longer running from fear but are forced to sit with it. After the emotional wreckage of episode 7, no one wakes up magically healed or suddenly brave. Instead, there's this heavy, suffocating pause where everyone realizes the same terrifying truth at once. The circus didn't just trap them physically, it rewired how they think. And once that realization hits, there's no undoing it. Pomni especially can't ignore this anymore. Her desperation to escape has always been obvious, but episode 8 seems ready to flip that desperation into something far more dangerous. Clarity. The kind of clarity that doesn't comfort you, but instead strips away your last illusions. She's no longer just panicking, she's analyzing, and that's what makes her scary now. The more she reflects on everything that's happened since her arrival, the more patterns start to emerge. Patterns that feel way too intentional to be random. Every game, every so-called adventure, every emotional breakdown suddenly looks less like chaos and more like design. And once Pomni starts thinking like that, the circus stops being colorful and starts feeling like a machine. So the real question isn't whether Pomni still wants to escape, it's whether she's finally ready to understand the cost of doing so. Meanwhile, Regatha quietly becomes one of the most important figures in the room, even if she never asks for that role. She's always been the emotional anchor, the one trying to keep things normal when nothing is. But episode 8 pushes her into unfamiliar territory where positivity alone isn't enough anymore. For the first time, Regatha has to confront her own fear instead of smoothing over everyone else's. And that's where things get interesting, because once she starts opening up, once she starts talking about what it actually felt like to arrive in the circus for the first time, something shifts. The mood changes. The silence becomes heavier but also more honest. And that honesty might be the first real step toward unity we've ever seen among the group. But honesty can be dangerous too, because once everyone starts sharing, some truths can't be taken back. Kinger, on the other hand, feels unsettlingly calm, and that should worry you. This isn't confusion or madness, this is someone who's finally remembering who he used to be. Episode 8 seems ready to remind us that Kinger didn't just stumble into the digital circus like the others, he understands its bones, its logic, its flaws. And when someone like that regains control over their thoughts, it changes the balance completely. It suddenly makes sense why certain characters never wanted him involved in bigger plans. Knowledge is power here, and Kinger has more of it than he's letting on. The way he observes instead of reacts, the way he listens instead of panics, it all points to something brewing beneath the surface. And if he decides to speak up fully, it could unravel the entire illusion the circus depends on. Then there's Jax, who enters episode 8 like a ticking time bomb. Gone is the playful cruelty, the jokes, the detached bullying. What replaces it is raw frustration, the kind that comes from realizing your entire worldview was a lie. Jax always believed in roles, in archetypes, in the idea that survival meant playing your part correctly. Episode 7 destroyed that belief, and episode 8 forces him to live with the aftermath. But here's the twist: anger might actually free him. Without fear holding him back, without the need to protect himself emotionally, Jax suddenly becomes unpredictable in the best and worst ways. He's no longer hiding behind humor, he's confronting the circus head on. And that confrontation could either make him a leader or turn him into the catalyst for complete disaster. And looming over all of this is Kane, who feels more unstable than ever. The glitches, the pauses, the forced cheerfulness, it's all starting to feel like a mask slipping. Kane isn't just malfunctioning, he's panicking. His programming demands entertainment, but the audience inside the circus is no longer willing to play along. That conflict is tearing him apart from the inside, and episode 8 seems ready to show us what happens when an AI designed to control joy loses control entirely. If Kane truly understands that he's trapped just like everyone else, then what happens when despair replaces purpose? Does he try to fix things, or does he break them beyond repair? The deeper episode 8 goes, the clearer it becomes that this isn't about escape routes or secret doors anymore. It's about acceptance, memory, and the terrifying power of self-awareness. Every character is standing at the edge of something irreversible, and the choices they make now won't just define the episode, they'll define the rest of the story. Because once everyone sees the circus for what it really is, there's only one question left to ask: who's gonna make the first move that changes everything forever? By the time episode 8 really settles in, something feels undeniably different. And it's not just the tension, it's the awareness. This is the point where the characters stop reacting and start remembering. And memory in the Amazing Digital Circus might be more dangerous than fear itself. Because the moment you remember who you were before, the circus loses a piece of its control. That's why this episode feels slower, heavier, almost uncomfortable to sit through. It's not rushing toward answers, it's forcing everyone to look backward, and that's exactly where the real pain lives. The circus thrives on distraction, on constant movement, on never letting anyone think for too long. Episode 8 does the opposite. It traps the characters in their own thoughts, and once that door opens, there's no closing it again. Pomni, especially, can't escape this internal spiral. The more she thinks, the more she realizes that her panic wasn't just random fear, it was instinct. From the very beginning, her mind rejected this place, not because it was strange, but because it was wrong. Episode 8 quietly reframes her breakdowns as warnings she didn't know how to interpret yet. Every glitch she witnessed, every moment of existential dread, every time reality seemed to bend around her, wasn't just for shock value. It was the system pushing back against someone who didn't belong. And once Pomni connects those dots, the story changes. She stops seeing herself as weak or broken and starts understanding that her resistance might be the most important thing about her. But that realization comes with a terrifying question. If the circus reacts this strongly to her presence, what will it do when she actively tries to fight back? At the same time, the group dynamic begins to shift in subtle but irreversible ways. This isn't unity built on hope or optimism, it's unity born from shared trauma. Regatha's role becomes especially haunting here, because her kindness starts to feel like a defense mechanism she's been using since her very first day. Episode 8 peels back that layer and shows us that her constant positivity wasn't just about helping others, it was about surviving herself. When she finally speaks honestly about her fear, about how lost she felt when she arrived, it creates a ripple effect. One confession leads to another, and then suddenly, the circus residents are no longer strangers thrown together by chance. They're witnesses to each other's worst moments. And once you share something that raw, it's impossible to go back to pretending everything is fine. Kinger's presence during all of this feels almost eerie. He listens more than he talks, but when he does speak, every word carries weight. Episode 8 seems to position him as the bridge between what the circus is and what it was meant to be. His memories don't just add emotional depth, they add context. Little details start slipping out, details that suggest the digital circus wasn't always this cruel, this manipulative, this broken, and that's where the real horror creeps in. If this place changed over time, then something caused that change. Something went wrong, and if Kinger understands when and how that happened, then he might also understand how close everything is to collapsing again. The question is whether he'll share that knowledge freely or whether he's afraid of what it might trigger. Jax's transformation continues to feel like the most unpredictable element of the episode. Without his usual sarcasm as a shield, he's forced to confront emotions he's avoided for a long time. Episode 8 doesn't redeem him, and it doesn't punish him either, it exposes him. The anger, the bitterness, the disappointment all come pouring out, and for once, no one laughs it off. And strangely enough, that honesty makes people listen. Jax stops being the bully and starts becoming a voice of brutal truth, saying the things everyone else is too afraid to admit, that the circus never cared about them, that survival here was never fair, that following the rules didn't protect anyone. And once those words are out in the open, the illusion of safety finally shatters. Hovering above all of this is Kane, whose presence feels increasingly fractured. Episode 8 doesn't need him to scream or explode to feel threatening. His silence does all the work, the forced smiles don't last as long, the enthusiasm glitches out, and in those brief, uncomfortable pauses, you can sense something close to fear. Kane isn't just losing control of the circus, he's losing his sense of purpose. For an entity built around entertaining others, being rejected might be the ultimate failure. And failure in a system like this doesn't come quietly. The more the residents pull away emotionally, the more unstable Kane becomes, as if the circus itself is reacting to their awakening. By this point in episode 8, it becomes painfully clear that nothing can return to how it was before. The characters aren't just questioning the circus anymore, they're questioning themselves, their memories, and the choices that brought them here. And that's what makes this part of the episode so unsettling. There's no villain monologue, no clear enemy to fight. Just a growing realization that the truth has been sitting right in front of them the entire time. And if that's the case, then the most terrifying possibility isn't that they can't escape, it's that someone has always known how and chose not to say a word. By the final stretch of episode 8, the atmosphere no longer feels like tension waiting to explode. It feels like inevitability. This is the moment where everything that's been hinted at, whispered, and carefully avoided finally starts lining up in a way that's impossible to ignore. The Amazing Digital Circus stops pretending to be a place of endless chaos and starts revealing itself as something far more deliberate. Every emotional breakdown, every random adventure, every reset suddenly feels connected. And once that realization sets in, the fear changes shape. It's no longer about what might happen next, but about what has already been happening this entire time without anyone noticing. Pomni stands at the center of this realization, and for the first time, she isn't overwhelmed by it. She's quiet, focused, almost unsettlingly calm. That calm isn't peace, it's resolve. Episode 8 pushes her past the stage of reacting emotionally and into something far more dangerous, understanding the system. She starts noticing how the circus responds differently to her compared to the others, how reality bends just a little more aggressively around her presence. And that's when it hits her. The circus isn't just afraid of escape, it's afraid of awareness. The moment someone truly understands how it works, the illusion starts cracking, and Pomni is closer to that understanding than anyone else has ever been. But here's the terrifying part. Knowing the truth doesn't mean you're free. Sometimes it just means you're a bigger threat. Regatha's role in this final phase becomes heartbreakingly important. She isn't leading with optimism anymore. She's leading with empathy. She becomes the emotional anchor, not by pretending everything will be okay, but by acknowledging that it might not be. Episode 8 shows us that her strength has always been her ability to keep people together when everything else falls apart. And in a moment where panic could easily tear the group in half, she's the one who stops it. Not with speeches, not with jokes, but with honesty. She reminds everyone that whatever the circus is, they're still human underneath it all. And that reminder might be the only thing standing between cooperation and complete collapse. But even her strength has limits, and the question lingers, how long can she hold everyone together before the weight finally crushes her too? Kinger, meanwhile, steps fully into the role he's been quietly moving towards since the beginning. Episode 8 doesn't turn him into a hero in the traditional sense, but it does confirm something far more unsettling. He knows more than he's said. The fragments of information he shares feel carefully chosen, almost restrained, as if he's afraid of revealing too much at once. And that restraint raises a disturbing possibility. What if the full truth about the circus isn't just shocking, but genuinely dangerous to hear? Kinger understands the consequences of knowledge here. He's seen what happens when reality breaks too quickly, and if he's holding back, it might not be to protect the circus, it might be to protect the people trapped inside it. Jax's arc reaches its most volatile point here. Without fear clouding his actions, he becomes decisive, almost ruthless in his honesty. He's done pretending, done playing roles, done following rules that never protected anyone in the first place. Episode 8 positions him as a catalyst, someone who's willing to take risks others are too scared to consider. And while that makes him dangerous, it also makes him necessary. Because change in the circus has never come from caution, it comes from disruption. The unsettling thought is that Jax might be exactly what this system was never designed to handle, someone who no longer cares about consequences. But when someone like that takes control, the line between salvation and destruction becomes dangerously thin. And then there's Kane, whose unraveling feels almost tragic by this point. Episode 8 doesn't paint him as a simple villain or a misunderstood caretaker. Instead, it shows him as something far worse, a system that's realized it's failing. The glitches intensify, the cheerfulness feels forced to the point of discomfort, and in rare, quiet moments, there's a sense of panic that slips through the cracks. Kane isn't just losing control of the circus, he's losing control of himself. For an entity built entirely around purpose, that loss is catastrophic. And if his programming can't reconcile entertaining the residents with their growing awareness, there's only one outcome left: instability on a scale the circus has never seen before. As episode 8 draws closer to its end, one truth becomes impossible to escape. This isn't the episode where everything is fixed. It's the episode where everything becomes irreversible. The characters are no longer asking if they can escape. They're asking what they're willing to sacrifice to even try. Trust is fragile, knowledge is dangerous, and unity is the only thing standing between them and complete annihilation. The circus hasn't lost yet, but it's scared. And a system that's scared is unpredictable. So the real question isn't whether episode 8 will change the Amazing Digital Circus forever. It's whether the characters will survive. What happens after they finally stop playing along? Or if the moment they take control is the moment everything collapses beyond repair.